Today, Revit Auto is fixing my brake hub assembly on my trailer because your cargo is important.
So we're just tearing down this hub assembly, this brake trailer hub assembly, so we can replace this rear seal, clean everything up, make sure it's all good, because the seal was found a little bit low. In that event that you ever get any sort of wheel grease, oil, anything on your shoe lining, you're gonna wanna go ahead and replace that shoe lining. So we're gonna order new shoes here, but we're just gonna put this back together until all the parts come in so that they can at least reposition it on their property. The seal just needs to come off. Might need to pry it off. I gotta be really careful though, because what I don't want to do is harm the surface that it mates to. So this is gonna be a small bear. That should come off. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and clean this mating surface. I'm gonna grab some brake parts cleaner here and clean this surface, clean all of this. And basically this is evidence that the wheel seal has been leaking. This is a combination of gear oil to lubricate the bearings and asbestos brake lining to keep this all together. So I need to certainly clean this whole brake assembly down and put a drain pan underneath it, get it all cleaned up, reassert my seal, and we'll rock and roll. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. And just make sure that all that is off. Now these shoes have been contaminated, so they're all gonna have to be replaced. And then just for general maintenance, we'll probably do the brakes on the whole truck. Yeah, the reason it's so important to clean this stuff is that if these brakes were to get way too hot and they're going down a steep grade or something, loaded up with some huge draft horses, you could get these brakes really, really hot. And basically oil is flammable once it hits a certain temperature. And what I'm trying to prevent here is any sort of chance of this getting so hot that it can bust. The other thing is, because the shoe lining has been contaminated with oil, the integrity and the spec for the amount of grab that the shoes has changed completely. So we're gonna have to replace all of this. But right now they're just focused on getting this thing down the road and mobile, because we've ordered the parts, but they're not gonna come in. So we're gonna go ahead and just service this side so it can move under its own around the property. A tall tell sign of this failing is obviously gear oil all up in this. But the other thing is we actually have a little bit of water intrusion in here inside of the seal housing, and we're gonna go ahead and dry this out completely. I'll even spray brake parts cleaner in here and then re-oil everything. And the reason I'm gonna do that is I don't want any water to mix with the oil. You don't want that milk. You want that in your cereal, not in your hubs. And I'm gonna just use some brake parts cleaner to clean the rest of this out, and then just do a nice little coating of oil before we fill these oil bearings back up. I'm just cleaning and inspecting the bearings. This is brake parts cleaner, which gets rid of literally everything. And how I like to do this is I will just inspect it, feel for play, it feels fine, so I'll put it down. Now I'm gonna grab the inner one, do the same thing. Now I do not clean these with a red cloth, because any debris that gets in these rollers is gonna cause for premature wear. So I'm using brake parts cleaner because it's just compressed, and it'll get rid of all the lubrication in there, allow me to check everything really well. And because it's now coated in brake parts cleaner, I'm just gonna go ahead and let it air dry. Now for this stuff here that has heavier goop, I'll wipe it and then spray it with brake parts cleaner, because I just don't want to introduce any contaminants here. I want everything to be nice and clean. And then I'll spray these down with brake parts cleaner and inspect it, because the red shop rags like you see here, yes, they can help you clean stuff up, but they'll leave little fuzz balls like that behind, if you can see that right there. And that is actually the stuff of nightmare fuel for your bearings, because they need a perfectly smooth surface to roll on, and they actually use the grease or the gear oil as a barrier to roll on. It also helps keep everything lubricated, reduces the heat, all that good stuff. So now that I have this stuff clean, what I can do is get this all going again. Now, I will, before I do the final install, I'm gonna spray this here again with brake parts cleaner, because I want no contamination. So any little bits of material, you can see here there's a little red terry cloth on there. That's now gone. I'm going to inspect this before it gets installed. If you have a blue shop towel, this is the time to use that. Or a microfiber towel is also good, because you see here I have this little red speck on my finger. That is not what you want to make its way into your bearings. All this red nastiness, that's got to go away. Sometimes I'll even change my gloves before I do assembly, just so that there's no other contamination on my hand. This is the most important part. A lot of people will go back and forth on this, where they will add grease and then they will add gear oil. I'm a fan of just letting my bearings soak in the gear oil. See those bubbles popping out? As I rotate this around, we have some bubblage. See the bubbles coming out of there? That's really all you gotta do. You just gotta rotate this around until all your bubbles have been evacuated, and then it's ready to be installed. This will be enough for you to fill the cavity with gear oil, and we'll prepare it for final assembly. So I'm just gonna go ahead here and dump this over just so I can check the other side, make sure the other side is clean, because I just don't wanna have any debris in here. And remember when I was talking about red towels leaving really tacky stuff behind? Whoever worked on this trailer before us, this is old red towel material that somebody before me had left in there. So I'm going to spray this down. What I'm doing now is I'm getting gear oil soaked into the bearings. And the reason I'm doing this is that when this thing gets filled up, I want to make sure that there's plenty of oil on these, because it's going to take just a little bit of time before oil gets to them. So I'm just going to go ahead, put that guy in there nice and oily, and I've got my next one soaking, ready to go in. Now I'm ready to install my seal. This seal here gets installed in this orientation here. All right, so this is what we're using as our seal installer here. We want to install it in this orientation, and you want to make sure that the seal perfectly fits the diameter of the installer. You don't want it to be overlapped, you don't want it to be underlapped. You want it to be perfectly flush. So this is the correct installer for the seal. This seal gets installed in one orientation. You want to make sure that the seal is nice and flat. You want to get your installer in there, and you want to make sure that your installer is properly centered. So sometimes I'll even spin it with one eye closed, making sure it's perfectly centered. And I'll start giving it some tappas. All right, and you see here how we're a little bit further down on one side than the other, but our bearing here is in the right position. This is what you don't want to have happen. If you do an install like this, you'll actually create a whole lot more headache for you and for me. So we went just a little bit too far on the seal install. So I'm going to see if I can fix that, and if I can't, I'll just have to get a new seal and try it again. Now these seals are expensive, so you want to make sure that you're taking time. If you go too far with the seal, what will happen is it'll actually stop the bearing from rotating. So I'm just going to see if a couple of gentle light taps will get it back to where I want it to be. I'm just giving it some light little baby taps, because all I'm trying to do is get this seal to be perfectly flush, and you can see here that I have a small high side. So I'm just going to use this flat end of this bolt here, and I'm going to off center it just a hair so I don't go too far. And I'm just going to go around in a circle now. It'll be fine. It's not my proudest moments. And these are light taps. You could hit yourself in the face. Light little baby taps. So if you notice here, I have one side on the seal, one side not. And that's just to make sure that I'm even all the way around. I'm happy with this. Flush all the way around. This has not been damaged. Everything's spinning internally. Like I can grab my bearing here, spin my bearing. So I'm happy. It's going to go back on. And if we look here, of where our hub surface is, where our sealing surface is going to be riding. We can see our sealing surface right here. So this is where it's going to be sealing from. It's going to allow that to spin. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll put a little bit of gear oil on this just so I can slide everything into position and start reassembly. This is probably the second most important part. First most important part, in my opinion, is installing the seal correctly into the hub. The second most important part is making sure that this seal does not touch any of this hard lip and that it goes on smoothly. And the reason this is challenging is that this is heavy. It's very heavy. So you gotta be hunting and gentle the whole time. On big trucks, I actually use a tool to do this because once it goes through that hole, I cannot set it down. Okay, so now our seal is set, and grab our bearing that's been sitting in gear oil. Gear oil is very slippery with a glove. So we'll go ahead, put this on and lift up on the hub so it can sink into its place. We'll install our first washer, and then we'll install our first nut. We're just gonna hand crank this in easily. While the trailer job's going on, we also have the glass company out here to replace a cracked windshield on an F-150. Now this truck came in for a replacement motor, and you can see here in this bottom corner of this windshield, we have a pretty nasty spider crack, and it's just rolling all the way across. So they're gonna go ahead, replace this windshield while we have it here, and then whenever we do a very large repair, like an engine replacement, and the customer has a vehicle like this that has 150,000 to 200,000 miles, we always like to get it cleaned up and detailed, because there's nothing like getting into a new old truck, and that is what you want it to be like. I like to do things slightly different. Everyone has their own mechanic methodology, whatever you want to call it. I like to set the bearing lash on these with the wheel and tire on. It just makes it a whole lot easier for me to find the zero lash position on these trailers. It just makes me comfortable. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then we'll go ahead and set the torque on this sucker. I'm just going to thread these on, and to prevent any contamination from getting in there, I'm just going to very lightly put this on just so I don't have any dirt or debris while I ugga-dugga the wheels down. I'm gonna go ahead and use my socket to tighten this up. And this one here, a lot of people way over torque, and that's what actually kills your bearings on your trailer. So all I'm trying to do right now is I'm just gonna get it nice and snug where we're at right now, and I'm just gonna go a little bit past snug, and I'm just gonna check for play. Now, because I have a new seal in there, we have new bearings in there, I am gonna snug that one up pretty tight. And by pretty tight, I mean like I'm probably only going maybe 50, 55 foot-pounds. Not a lot, about half of what the lug nut torque is. And the reason I do that is I want everything to sandwich together so that it's nice and tight. And then I'm gonna back it off, and you'll see here that we're going to play, we're gonna spin it, right? And we're gonna go for zero lash. So I'm gonna spin it, tighten it, spin it, tighten it. If you tighten this too much, you'll increase the resistance on the actual bearings, which will cause them to cook. So now what I'm gonna do is back it off, and then I'm gonna check for play. You hear that play? You see it? That's too much. So I don't need this wrench. I can actually do this by hand. That's how little torque there is. So no play, no play. I'm gonna go a hair past no play because these are new bearings and new seal. It'll mesh itself in. So that's where we're gonna put it. I'm gonna put my lock ring on here, and my lock ring is gonna go into these grooves. And how this works is there's actually a keyway in your axle here, and this tab is bent and this tab is bent. Normally these are all straight, but this is how it sits. Now, I took the wheel off, it was in this position, so I know that I'm good. Now the nut that you want to tighten real tight is this nut here, because this is basically your jam nut. And the job of this jam nut is to hold the torque on this nut here so it doesn't back off. So this is how you lock everything in place. So this guy goes on real nice and tight. So once this jam nut here is tight, you're gonna go ahead and pull these tabs down. And what these tabs going down will do is stop the nut from backing out. So it's a safety precaution to lock everything in position so there's no failure. And now we're gonna go ahead and put this guy in, and this only gets torqued to 15 to 23 foot-pounds, really light. This is an oil filter tight. All you're gonna do now is remove this seal. This seal here is just rubber, goes into this orifice hole here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this to the side. And now I'm gonna fill my gear oil in here. And because we have a brand new seal here, we can see everything. Now this is a trial of patience, because you're gonna fill this, it's gonna drain, you're gonna fill this, it's gonna drain. And if you don't have a new cover like we have, and you start spinning this wheel, you're gonna lose it. So what I like to do, fill this up as much as I can until a little bit drips out. And then what I do from there is I let it sit for probably 5 or 6 minutes, you know, clean up my tools a little bit, check everything else out that I need to check out, and then top it back off. And I just keep doing that until it's full. Then I spin the wheel and make sure I'm on a flat surface to check it. If you're on an incline, you're gonna get a false reading here. So not only do we have Revit Auto, but Damascus and Revit Auto have teamed up on hot rods and on residential work. So we're going on a side quest to check in on how things are going there today. You'll see some familiar faces. Matthew from Revit. Make sure everything's okay and return the tool to the toolbox. We just came back from our side quest to check on Matthew up at Damascus. Now you can see here that the level has significantly dropped. It was pouring out just a little bit, and now it's much lower. So I'm just gonna go ahead, top it up again, slowly, and once it gets back up to that rim, I'm gonna stop and continue cleaning up my work area and resetting my truck. This is the part that I was telling you guys requires a lot of patience, because it needs to work its way through. It's 35 degrees outside today, so it's a little chilly. So the stuff is getting thicker and thicker. The viscosity is thickening. And we're gonna go ahead and let this drain back down for a few minutes while I get my work area cleaned up. This is exactly what your fluid level should look like inside your cap. If it's on a flat surface, that's the best place to check it after a short test drive.
How's it look, Claire?
Let's go for a ride.